Welcome to another episode of Coaching While Black. My name is Chris Reed. I am joined by my co-host,
Anthony and Dino. Happy to be here.
And today's episode, we're going to be chatting about how to build a program. So a lot of you have played sports, or you live in a community that has a lot of children and you want to support and you want to help, but may not know how to bring your ideas to life. You grew up playing basketball. It's a love of yours. You grew up in New York. You're still in New York. You've been a part of programs. You've been a part of long-standing programs. You also brought on new things. So what was your mindset and like your first steps when bringing on a new program?
The way that I describe it, and we were, me and Chris were just in Florida not too long ago, and we were talking to some people out there in regards to their programming. And I told them, you have to think about, some of the young people who have a little bit more difficult time in your program.
Yeah.
And kind of design it in a way for them to be successful.
Yeah.
Because if they can be great in that space, then 9 out of 10, everybody else will probably have the conditions to succeed too.
You have to have a passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a passion for what you're doing and the youth that you're going to serve, because it is not it's what we call a thankless job. It's not something that people are going to pat you on the back. You're not going to make a ton of money. You're not going to be a celebrity, but you are going to do something that is impactful, that is needed, and that is appreciate it, and you'll create a wave of generosity, potentially a wave of giving back, and a wave of creating a newer standard for your community. My background is in creating programs, and the first one I got a chance to really be a part of was with the Washington National Youth Baseball Academy in Southeast Washington, D.C. As a D.C. native growing up, we didn't have baseball. And so the Nationals moved to D.C. in 2005. We'd never had a professional baseball team. We had Baltimore Orioles, who were an hour away. So for kids who didn't travel or didn't have the finances or the opportunity, baseball just wasn't a sport. We are a basketball, football, track town. And so when the Nationals came, thankfully our city council, they pretty much held the Nationals responsible. Hey, you want a stadium in our city? You have to do something for our community, and it has to be free, and it needs to be in a place of need. And so they attempted to build one academy. It didn't work. They tried again in Southeast, and I applied for a job literally blindly. Like, had no clue I was going to even get an interview. And 3 interviews later, I had the opportunity to build something from scratch. And in that, I knew that I wanted to do something for my community that made sense, that wasn't overbearing, and that wasn't something that people didn't feel was for them. And so I led with love. Like, how could you make a young person who's never played this sport feel comfortable? Because I didn't play baseball growing up, and throwing a fastball at me, I'm not going to be comfortable, right? I've ducked balls. I've been hit. I have a shoulder injury from a bat hitting me flush in my collarbone by a kid when we taught them how to bat. But I say all this to say, I knew I wanted to build something that was authentic to DC and authentic to the communities that we serve. And at the end of the day, baseball was just a part of what was going on there. We were helping young people with their homework. We were helping young people by exploring their horizons with experimental classes. We provide them with mentors that were also having a major impact on their lives. That some kids went from public school to private school. Some kids now are going to college. Actually, my first and second cohorts are college and seniors in high school. And
wow, that's amazing.
One, man. I feel really old because I'm stating that. I'm an old man at this point in my career, but I'm proud to say that I was a part of their trajectory, of having been a part of their lives and having built something that changed their trajectory. To me, it was so great because when we set out to do it, my goal was not baseball. My goal was to create a hub for young people to feel safe, for young people to feel comfortable, for young people to try something new. And that something new has turned, some kids are playing baseball. Some kids are even playing other college sports that their parents didn't know that they had athletic ability. Their parents didn't know that this was a possibility. Their parents didn't think that their kids could go to college. And so I say lead with love because it's something you have to be passionate about, something that you are going to have tough days. You just are. You're going to have tough days because you're trying to do something for everyone, right? I'm not trying to help 2 kids over here or 3 kids over here. I'm trying to raise up a community with what I have to offer. I think it was easier for me because I had a professional team to support it and pay the bills and build a facility, a beautiful facility in the heart of Southeast DC. But don't be discouraged if you're somebody out there who's played sports and want to give back. And I know a lot of athletes are always thinking, what's next after my career, once your playing days are over? 100%. if you want to give back, if you want to build something with love and without the thought of what you're going to make out of it, or what finances are going to come out of it, or how you're going to come out in the end. Build it with the understanding that you are on a selfless journey to support others, to give them the opportunities that you had or you did not have.
I agree with that 100%. And something that comes into my head is, as a program director who worked in the city but didn't have the benefit of having the bankroll of a professional sports team and not, knocking the amazing work you did out there in D.C., a lot of programs run into the reality of, hey, we need money to stay open, so I'm going to take this grant, and you sacrifice your values and the quality of your program to meet the need of a grant of someone who gave you money.
Oof.
Right?
Yeah,
and
we just saw
that's
that.
so unfortunate. Like, we were just in Florida, and there's programs who get a substantial amount of money to do something that the kids don't like and the staff don't want to do. So in my program back in Manhattan, we really tried to seek out, because at the end of the day we needed money and we needed funding, seek out funders who their deliverables were things that were in line with our values, the things that we wanted to get done.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do. And again, it's thankless, and that's not what the young people and the parents see on the back end.
Yeah.
But when your kids are having fun because the program is for them and people have their fun and their joy in mind, when they're building and looking for partners to bring into the space, it really makes it a worthwhile experience for the young people and the staff, right? Because the last thing you want as a person who's creating something is for someone who is built for it to tell you, oh, this is not for me, I don't feel comfortable here, right? And that's something that I ran into myself coming up. Like, you want to make sure that your young people feel that the program represents them and they have voice in what's going on in their spaces too.
After leading with love, what I would suggest to people is to do your research and understand that if you want to build something substantial, it needs to be holistic. Sports are great. Like, I love sports. Sports made my life. I often used to tell people sports saved my life. It actually made my life. Sports are great, but also there are other things that you can offer young people. There are other issues and needs in your community. It could be food. It could be education. It could be mental health. It could be workforce development, whatever it may be. Understand what the needs are in the community, because everybody has a sports program. Recreation, after-school programs, sports teams, everybody does that. What can separate you from other organizations is how are you creating something that's worthwhile to the growth and development of the kids in your community. And so I would say do your research. One of the things I am also grateful of is that with the Nationals, we created a new curriculum around STEM and baseball. And I've always been a fan of STEM, and more so STEAM, incorporating the arts into things. But we had a whole STEM curriculum that was half classroom, half like outside, doing activities and doing actual projects for the kids. And that went a long way in their learning development because it wasn't school.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't the same old thing that they're sitting through every day. It was something that they were enjoying, that they learned. And part of that came from how I learned. Growing up, I wasn't the strongest student. And I often tell people, I fell in love with reading because I had NBA cards and NBA books, and I was a huge NBA fan. I fell in love with math because I used to collect cards. I would look at stats on the back, and it's like, how does somebody play 28.5 minutes? They either play 28 minutes or 29 minutes. And that's what made sense to me as a kid. But I actually started to understand how math worked and how statistics work and how to count things just became a lot easier for me.
I used to play with Pokemon cards.
So I had these cards, I had these books, and it helped me to learn my way. Right? And I wasn't always the kid sitting in a math class where the teacher taught it this way and it worked. I was the nightmare kid, right? And so I built the program around how to help nightmare kids to an adult's thought or point of view, like, this kid just ruins my day, which we talk about, no kid wants to ruin your day. Mm-hmm. Although I did have a teacher, I think I most definitely wanted to ruin her day, her month, her week, or her year, whatever the case may have been. But for the most part, I built something to basically connect dots for kids, right? We oftentimes, education's one way, and sometimes sport or any activity can be art, it can be music, it can connect educational dots for kids. And we have to take that other step to help young people learn in a different way. Not everybody receives information the same way. Not everybody processes things the same way. Not everybody learns the same way. And especially young people of color who are lumped into these large communal spaces, if they don't learn it the right way from someone else telling them how to learn it, then they get left out.
And I think another part about having a good program, yes, you want to be super intentional to make sure it's a great experience for the young people, but what are you doing to make sure that experience translates to the parents?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I attempted to do, and wasn't always successful at it, but making sure that I have opportunities for my parents to come in and see what programs like, right? So we had walkthroughs. We had, days where parents were able to come in and just be a fly on the wall, sit in the back of the room, see what their kids are learning in the program, right? But it's also about making sure that, those parents are set up to be just as successful as their young people. Like, be knowledgeable, like you said, about what your program or what your community has in regards to resources, right? If you have a young person that, doesn't have a physical, and that there's a free clinic somewhere that can get that for you.
Yeah.
Make sure you connect that resource, right? Because a lot of us and a lot of people in my space back then thought that, these parents are just not doing what they need to do. I'm like, maybe they don't have access to what they need, right? So instead of me taking it personal, like you said, they're not showing up to make my day worse. What can I do to make sure that they have the tools to be successful, right? It's not only about making sure those young people are successful, because at the end of the day, they're with us, 3-4 hours?
Yeah.
On a regular day, they go back home to their parents, and if their parents aren't set up in a way to be successful resources for them too, then it's hard for us to make any real change, right? So it's not just about, impacting the life of those young people. Making sure you have constant dialogue with the parents, build that relationship as well, so when they need resources, we can make sure that those things are available to them too.
And you just don't know what parents' buy-in may be. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but in a great way. At the Youth Baseball Academy, I dealt with parents in a different way. So you brought up like allowing parents to come in and see. I had a barrier around that facility. We had a large black fence. And so when parents would drop off, there's a concourse, and the start of the concourse is at the parking lot. I had a desk, and I sat there with my staff, with two of my staff who were like office staff. We greet the parents, greet the kids go in, parents stay out. Because for me, this was a space for young people to be themselves. And oftentimes, young people are timid to be themselves or to take risks or to try something new or to even build relationships with other adults if their parent is around. And so I took it upon myself to build relationships with the parents, to talk them through what was going on. We did have parent nights. We did have them come in for specific things, but for the most part, y'all stay out there. Mm-hmm. And reason being is because I need your kids to feel comfortable. I need your kids to feel like they're their own person here and have their own ownership here. And what came out of those conversations was I had a ton of dads who played baseball growing up. I had a ton of dads who just wanted to help because not every child in that community had a dad. Right. And so when we took field trips, when we went to other places, I had families who were lining up to help other kids who were like, if the kid doesn't have the money, we'll pay for it. Or if you all don't have a bus or you don't have the finances for a bus, I'll drive 3 or 4 kids and I'll drive 3 or 4 kids. So we went to the baseball Little League World Series in Pennsylvania, and that was a 4-hour drive. And we had a van. I had staff with me, but I also had 6 dads. Right. And that's beautiful. That trip was memorable for those kids, but also for those fathers who understood the power of this program. And now every year they take a trip. Every All-Star game, the girls and the boys have teams that play representing the academy. And they came to LA a few years ago. I didn't get to see the kids, but I got to see all the parents. Right. And just having those conversations with people I haven't seen in 4 or 5 years, I knew that what I left behind had the impact. And so the other part of this is, if you're going to build something worthwhile, it should operate with or without you. It should be something that is a stalwart in the community, something that you can create, that you can leave behind, but you know that it's going to be successful. And to do that, you have to be open to collaboration. You have to be open to someone else coming in and saying, hey, what you have is great. I want to put this in with you because this can also help kids, or this is coming down the pipe. We went to a very interesting school opening yesterday, a preschool, and they're talking about putting AI in the curriculum to help our young people early to understand how AI works and understanding coding in preschool, right?
It's crazy. You're talking about, hey, we're going to incentivize these preschool kids to come to school. Like, you make money by being here. And just the model and idea was fascinating. I'm gonna let you continue. We just wanted to throw that out there.
And shout out to the Compton Legacy Academy that is opening very soon. We attended their grand opening yesterday. But being open to collaboration is very hard, especially for athletes or former athletes, because we're ego-driven, right? I don't want anybody messing with my stuff. I built it this way. It's got to stay this way. But oftentimes, things need to change because things evolve and kids change, right? How we were as kids is not what's going on today, right?
For sure.
I didn't have a tablet. I didn't have like my own Spotify. I had Rubik's Cube, and I had a couple.
I had a Game Boy Color.
Right. I had little things. I didn't have these major things. I couldn't stream Netflix and watch my own shows.
I had DVDs, maybe.
We had one TV, so you have to adapt and change to how things are. And sometimes your base premise idea is phenomenal, but it needs to grow and evolve. And you may not be able to do that. And so if you're trying to build a program, if you have the want or the intent to build something that's substantial, understand you're going to have to collaborate. And so it may not be on the sports side. It could be on the academic side. It could be on the give back side. It could be mentoring, right? Like I said, the program in DC, having mentors come in that have different walks of life, different paths of life, that can actually give a different viewpoint of Washington, D.C., of growing up there, of what school is, of what education means to them, of what finance means to them. It opened the door for these young people, but also it supported parents, because we also had a ton of young parents who had been through some stuff, didn't have a ton of know-how. And so if you have a volunteer who's a mentor who has had 3 or 4 children that have graduated college and they want to give back, they're helping you, right? And that collaboration, it lends itself to healthy growth and development of our young people. And if you're building a program, that should be your base premise. How do I help young people grow in a healthy and safe environment?
And like when you think like that, if it helps like kind of break some of the cycles that, a lot of these families and young people are in, right? Because it's something I picked up on, and I wish I picked up on a little bit earlier in my career. The way in which I found success to kind of, interact or build relationships with the young person works pretty good in a different form of fashion with the parent, right? Because we also have to realize the same way that players coach the way they were coached, parents parent the way they were parented, right? And we have to understand that, again, these folks are not showing up to make our days worse. And sometimes, in reality, they might be. But if you think about it, right, from a standpoint of, maybe this person's not trying to make my day worse. Maybe they don't have the skill to do this. And I always see, a negative situation or someone, not showing up in the way that they need to show up as, they just don't know how. Yeah. So I'm going to take that on personally and say, okay, this is what I see. Will you allow me to assist in this way, right? Educate instead of, being punitive and everything, right? Because I think a lot of people are really creative. They get the mind starts working when it comes to breaking other things down, or they like to break people down to build them back up. Yeah. When you can really mold what's going on right now, and a lot of people are showing up in a way that helps them get through the rest of their day. And we expect them to be what we need them to be in the moment we need them to be that, without giving them opportunity to practice and get those reps to be great.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of programs are built out of trauma response.
100%.
And nobody really pays attention to, like, I built a program because something happened to me and I don't want it to happen to other kids. But you could also build a program when something happened to you and you want it for other children. You want other people to have that opportunity. And so I think, to your point of like letting go of some of that angst, but also being open to what you're doing and why you're doing it and telling your story. I think that's a big part of creating a program, is being able to tell the story that you're going through the right way, because it'll be perceived the right way. If you're looking for funders, if you're looking for donors, if you're looking for new staff, if you're looking for collaborators, if you're looking for community support and backing, being able to tell your story properly goes a very long way in how successful you're going to be early, and then how you tell the story long term. Because as you know, if you're receiving funding, if you're receiving grant money, even your donors, if they're giving out of their pocket, they're going to want to know what's going on. Okay. They're going to know what the story is now. And for me at the Academy, I can tell you kid after kid after kid where they are, what they're doing. When I first met them, and the impact that place has had on them. I don't even work there anymore, and I can make them money because I know how the story is written and how the story should be told. From kids learning their first nickname, A little quick story. My favorite nickname ever came from the Youth Baseball Academy. This little boy named Daquan. He had been there a few days. He wasn't really feeling it at first because he hadn't really connected with anybody. He had a sister there who was having a great time. He wasn't. And so my job at that point was just kind of like walk around, pop in here, pop in there. And it was summertime. I had a conversation with Daquan, and he's like pulling money. He's like, look, Coach Chris, I got all this money. I was like, you look like an ATM. He was like, from now on, everybody should call me ATM. And from that moment on, he was in. He loved being there. It was his favorite place to be. His mom told me, I don't know what y'all did, but it's changed. He wants to be here. He's always asking when he can show up, when he can be there. And it was really like he created his own opportunity for ownership. And so don't be rigid with what you build. I know as athletes, like being a professional athlete or being a high-level college athlete, your training is rigorous and it's intense and it's consistent. But at that age, if you're working with young kids, they have to have some ownership. They have to have some creativity. They have to have some opportunity, some choice and control over what their day looks like or just what practice looks like. You know, where's the fun? And I think that's the thing. Love and fun have to be within everything that you build if you're working with kids, period.
Yeah, like you can't, like I made a joke earlier because somebody told you to smile more. And I was like, put the joy away. But like, we also have to understand for young people, like joy is such a vulnerable emotion. Like they spent their whole day getting their joy attacked.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we have to do our best to create environments where they can just be them.
Yeah.
And they don't get that. Like they go to school, you get told to sit down, you have to do this, do that, do it right now, speak when you're spoken to, and if you do talk, it better be the right answer. So then, you know, if it's wrong, they don't want to talk anymore, right? It's so much of people telling them what to do and who to be. When they come into our programs, we give them the opportunity to be their best selves, right? And to bring that kid-like joy out. And that should be the goal of your program. Yes, you want to hit your deliverables. Yeah, you want to do all this. But the reason that we went to programs like that was because it's fun, right? Like I had a few years ago, I went in program and I had two young people used to get under my skin. I figured like they had a button straight to my stress response, right? They can get right in there just like that. But I got mad, but I always be like, you know what? It's all right. We gonna have fun anyway. It's got to the point where like their mom started telling me, you know, they call you their uncle, right? Like they be in the neighborhood like, yo, Uncle Dino's at BJR. We're going to BJR, and they started bringing more kids into the program, helping me get my stuff better because they were like, you don't take stuff personal, right? Yeah, they may do things to get you upset, but at the end of the day, you're not there to make them feel bad about being who they are. Yeah. Even if who they are pisses you off, you don't take it personal. You think, okay, hey, if that's what you need to do, in my opinion, if two little girls making me mad is the worst part of my day, my life is amazing.
Yeah, you had a cool day.
Right? It was a pretty good day. So that's how I take on things like that, right? You also have to make sure that you allow young people to keep that joy alive.
I just want to wrap it up by telling people, you know, take what we say into account, but also put your own spin and flavor on what you're doing. I'm actually trying to build a program right now, and it's very near and dear to my heart. And it's hard because it's a trauma response. So I'm trying to create a way that the atmosphere is fun, it's inviting, it's a growth opportunity for young people, and it's a learning space. It's a healed space. So understand that you may have something that you want to bring into the world. Ensure that you're doing it with love and care and creating fun for young people. And with that, that is another episode of Coaching While Black. Please like, listen, share, and subscribe. Follow us on all socials at CHJS.org, and we'll check you out next time. Peace.
Mob.